يا من هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الرحمن الرحيم الملك القدوس السلام.
Today we will be talking about the function, the second function, which is really education. But before I really start really talking about this important institution and important art in our life, I want to make really a couple comments. The first, I really want you to see that what will be presented today is not the work of Walid, okay? And no, it is really a culmination of the works of so many scholars, in particular over the 20th century. You will see the influence, if you like, of Iqbal, especially in the idea of direction, okay? How to basically bring to humanity the importance of the direction that we give to our action. And I clearly remember Iqbal when he talks about, or when he commented on the verse, أَلَا لَهُ الْخَلْقُ وَالْأَمْرُ, okay, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala belongs creation and order. And he said order is direction. And as a physician, and there are physicians here in the audience, when you give an order, okay, in the hospital, it is not just like do this, but you give also directions how this action has to be done and delivered. I really don't know. I don't either. So then we have really also very prominent scholars like Dr. Muna Abul Fadl, who basically talked about the whole ummah, if you like, al-ummah al-qutub, which means that we need we are going in that direction of establishing really a model, if you like, ummah, which is really balanced and fair and based on really justice. Then I really want to say this, which is really a fact. I think the person who took that idea into really much higher level, and fortunately he is sitting with us, Dr. Naji bin Haj Tahir, and because he was able to bring that idea into also the rise and fall of civilizations, using Al-Allama Ibn Khaldun as he took his model and broadened it. And today you will see, okay, at the beginning of this lecture, the model, and some of you have seen that before, because we used it last year to discuss really balance in our life, and we basically base our discussion on really that model. So the model that we are going to use today is really the model of that helps us to understand culture. And any time you want to make a change, okay, it's not, you are not really making a change of an action here or there. The most important thing is really to make a change at the level of the culture. And that boils down to changing the habits of the people. And that really is not an easy really task. But in order really to understand really change, we need really to understand at the level of the culture, we need to understand the role of habits in the establishment of any type of culture. So culture, okay, we will get into its definition in a few minutes, but culture is, I want you to keep in mind that culture is a human phenomenon, purely human phenomenon. And in order to understand culture, we need to understand the human being, because it echoes the nature of culture, echoes the nature of the human being. Again, it will take lectures even to talk about really the human being, but for the sake of our discussion, I want to concentrate on a couple important characteristics of the human being. The most important differentiating component of the human being that differentiates him or her from other really creatures is their ability to use their reasoning and intellect, al-fikr. So this is really the highest, or what makes the human being a noble really creature, because he is endowed with this ability to think and to use their reasoning and intellectual really faculties. But in fact, the human being is not only intellect and reasoning. We also have other things, especially our own desires and emotions, and these are the ones that really are the driving force to act in this life. You feel hungry, so you act, okay, by eating to satisfy that desire, the desire of hunger. You feel thirsty, you go and to drink. So the actions that you and me take in our life are really in response to satisfy our desires, but in the presence of our intellect and in the presence of our reasoning. Okay, so as we start taking these actions and we repeat them, they become recurrent. And as they become recurrent, habits are really formed. Okay, and I mean, look at the way you learned how to drive. Okay, at the beginning it was difficult, but then after, I mean, like repeating these actions over and over, it became really a habit. Not only that, it becomes an ingrained habit, like a second nature. You do it without even really thinking about it. And Ibn Khaldun call it beautifully. He will call it malaka. So as if like you have possessed something that has become really part really of our nature. تتنزل, he said, like تتنزل من الإنسان منزلة الطبيعة. So it will become really like a second nature. Okay. So but here really Ibn Khaldun, and this is where I want you to pay a little more attention, because here comes the idea of the direction and the action and the direction. Okay, the idea of the action and the direction of the action. Ibn Khaldun did not really use these terms. These are relatively newer really terms. Okay, but he when he was talking about the habits, he was able to differentiate between two types of habits. The habits that really are related to what we can make and produce. Okay, for example, you do well on an exam. This is really something that reflects your habits of studying and learning and everything. But to be honest with you, does not tell me anything about you. The only thing it will tell me that this individual is capable of being successful, and scored well on that exam and is capable to move into really the next really level, okay? But doesn't tell me more about the character of that individual. Here, Ibn Khaldun talks about another type of habits, okay, that will be calling them the habit of doing, not making, which really reflect the character of the doer. Okay? Again, these are very important because we will apply them, we will use them in our educational really model that we are going really to propose. Okay? So that will give us really a good way now to understand that. Can I have the next three? So culture can be defined as the totality of conventionalized habits, arts, and institutions. So the arts and the institutions are reflecting our own making, okay? The habits, as we said, the arts and the institutions are the result of the habits of making, but the character of the doer reflects basically the habit of really doing, okay? So these are really the model that now I am using. This is, again, this model is not like, again, was created like last month or last year, but it is really the culmination of all these works that I alluded to, and I think now we can start really talking about really the educational model. Can I have the next slide? Now, if you look at the current educational model, okay, they talk about three important steps: information, knowledge, wisdom. I put them in really in a circular way, but to be honest with you, they are more linear than circular. But this is not really the issue here of our discussion. But really, information, the first step, okay, in any educational really system and in any type of science or any field of education, however you are talking about medicine or business or law or any type, biology, chemistry, math, okay, they all follow that model of gathering, okay, the information, the facts, okay, and the supporting data, if you like, the experiments or the observations that support really these facts, okay. But if these facts remain really isolated and disconnected, they will not really help us at all. Here comes the second step of how to put these pieces of information together to form knowledge. Okay? The same, I'll give you an example from my profession. Okay, I mean, we collect data all the time on our patients. We take history, we do physical exam, we do laboratory tests, we see the course of the patient. These are all pieces of information. But if I don't have the ability to put these information together, I will not be able to assess my patient and make a diagnosis, and based on that, a plan for the treatment of that patient. So it is very important to start how to put these pieces of information together to form in knowledge, okay? And in fact, all sciences are based on that. A science is not just accumulation of information. It's not a compendium of information, but how you put this information together in order to be capable of answering interrelated questions. And that will constitute basically a science, okay? So, and after that, how you put that knowledge into application. And they call it wisdom. What is wisdom in Arabic? Hikmah. And keep that in mind, okay? Keep that in mind when we talk about the how we can really enlarge that educational model. Can I have the next slide? So this idea, okay, or these steps that we have talked about, when I really looked in Quran, I found that these were clearly delineated in the mission of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, okay, in order to carry his message. Okay, he has to start by imparting these pieces of information through the verses that he will recite to the people around him. But if these really recited verses are disconnected from each other, they will not really lead to any type of action. So, if you look at these verses in Quran, each one of them constitutes a unit of meaning. A unit of meaning. But then, these units of meaning, when they come together, they form a construct, which is the surah. The surah is really from from like a structure. Okay? So these verses become the building blocks in order really to form really the surah. And the Al-Kitab, the book, is basically composed of several really constructs, or what we call chapters. But I like the word construct because it means that its elements come together to give you a construct, a topic, a clear matter that the surah or this construct is trying really to deal with and treat it. So يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِكَ. The next word here, وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ, I want you to keep that up because I underlined it. وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ. I'm sorry, this يُزَكِّيهِمْ is additional. وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ يُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ. So these verses, these pieces of information are gathered together to form really the knowledge, and then how to apply that knowledge is hikmah. And it's amazing that really what in the current model they call the application of knowledge also hikmah, because hikmah or wisdom is how to put things in the right place, in its right place. I'll give you an example. In many situations, I know, for example, this is the drug of choice to treat this particular problem for my patient. Let us say penicillin is the drug of choice for treating a certain disease. But if my patient is allergic to penicillin, it may kill him. So it is very wise not to use that drug in that particular patient. So my knowledge helped me to apply, but to apply my knowledge in a wise way. And so and then Muhammad ﷺ universalized the idea of hikmah when he said, "Al-hikmatu dallatul mu'min." So hikmah is the quest. Wisdom is the quest of the believer. Whenever he finds it, he is really the most who will deserve that, to take that wisdom. فَهُوَ أَحَقُّ النَّاسِ بِهَا. So it's everywhere, regardless from where it is coming, okay? If it constitutes wisdom, it becomes my quest and your quest, okay? Now, what I want you to notice here, that there is another verse, okay, which really says, يَتْلُو عَلَيْكُمْ آيَاتِنَا, recites the verses. But before talking about teaching you the book and the wisdom, the word yuzakkikum comes first. In the first verse, this is really a mistake. This is the true one. So it comes after knowledge. To me, it means that knowledge and tazkiyah is really increase in goodness. So in other words, okay, these the knowledge and tazkiyah, or increase in the goodness of the human being, improve and develop the character of the human being, the habits of doing, not only making. So information, knowledge, wisdom will really help in the habits of making. But we need that component of tazkiyah to accompany knowledge, not before and not after. Why I am saying that? Because these should be governed by the same vision. It's not like I am teaching my students how to acquire knowledge and later on I will teach them, for example, how to be a good human being and how to instill the values. No, I want the student to see that these two processes are really interrelated. How to acquire knowledge that will make you an effective human being capable of producing. I want also that student to increase his or her goodness to become a better human being with good character at the same time of acquiring the knowledge. So next please. So I added, okay, here, this element with the knowledge, information, knowledge, plus I call tazkiyah transformation, you can call it growth and development, you can call it transcendence, okay, you can call it whatever you want, but the idea, how we come up with curricula that would foster not only knowledge, but also at the same time help that human being grow and develop and to increase the goodness of that. So in other words, we are not only working on the habits of making, but also working on the habits of doing at the same time. We are not talking about the action, but also highlighting the direction of the action at the same time. Make sense? So that is the first addition that we can, and really, Quran when talks about tazkiyah, he said, or Quran said, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. أفلح means succeeded. So the tazkiyah is a condition for success, because you don't want a human being who is able to produce, but he has bad character. And today we apply this, but without being conscious about it. For example, I sit, for example, on the admission committee, and I noticed that the change in the philosophy of really what to look for in the applicants. In the past, the emphasis was like on the grades. What courses they have taken and what were their grades, what is the GPA, what is the score in the MCAT. But today, it's not only that, it is not enough. They realize that this is not enough, okay, to make out of that applicant a good doctor. So they are emphasizing attributes. Attributes meaning what? Reflecting the character of that applicant. And also the life experiences. So from what they have done outside the classroom, they can really assess the character. Who is that individual? Rather than what that individual has produced. Make sense? Give you another example. I know someone, a close friend. He owns a pharmaceutical company. They produced a medication. The owner of the company said, I'd like to sell this drug at the price of $10. The rest of the people in the company say, no, we can really sell it at the price of $18. And you know what is the difference between selling it at $18 versus $10? And we are talking about millions of dollars. Why that owner wanted it to be sold at the price of $10? So that the poor will have access, okay, to that really medication. Now, this type of action, what does it tell you about the product? The product is the same. Whether you sell it at the price of 10 or 18, it's the same. Is that right? But it tells me about the character of that owner, not about the product, but who is that individual? Is that right? So these things, and today I have a conversation with the brother Naji earlier, and I have seen it also, and I'm sure you have seen it in your own workplace when they talk about ethics. Why it is really now, I mean, it has become really very important, really topic in our institutions and firms and companies, hospitals, so on and so forth. Why? So definitely because they realize how important it is really to focus on the character of the people and ways of improving, okay, but unfortunately there is a lack of reference, okay, or where are we going and in what setting we are really doing that. And this is where I think we need to focus, especially when, again, like any mosque, they are interested in education. They have weekend school, they have full-time school, they have they need to put curricula, I mean, for these schools. Is this curriculum going only just to impart information, knowledge and wisdom, but not really focusing on what type of students I am going really to raise or to graduate from that school? Are we really understanding the phases of development of our students and see at each level what are their needs and let the curriculum really respond to these needs in a sequential way? So all these questions we really need to raise and answer, and I am hoping that a model like that will constitute really a framework within which we can operate. And I am not saying this is really a final thing. I am sure there are areas where we can expand further on this model. Can we go back? I want to talk about a second addition to the model. Just the one, the ayah, the verses, yeah, the one that shows the verses. Okay. So if you notice in the second verse, in addition to information, knowledge, wisdom, and transformation or tazkiyah or growth and development, the verse talks about وَيُعَلِّمُكُمْ مَا لَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْلَمُونَ. So either the Prophet will be teaching you something that you did not know before, or Allah Himself will be teaching you things that you have not knew about before. This is really very similar when we read at the beginning of Quran in the second surah, Surah Al-Baqarah, and Quran starts by describing really the attributes of Al-Muttaqin. The first one, الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. They believe in the unseen or in the unknown. And Quran considers that as also a condition for success, because at the end of that paragraph it says أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَىٰ هُدًى مِّن رَّبِّهِمْ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. Aflaha, succeeded, and also these people who believe in the unknown, okay, are going to be successful. What does that really mean, to believe in the unknown? To believe that there are possibilities that are still in the unknown. And how you are going to extend your hand to bring these things that are still in the unknown, to bring them to the observable reality of our life. But who will bring something from the unknown? Somebody who believes that there is something higher. Saddaqa bil husna. Somebody who believes in something higher. Give you an example. At one point, we have, for example, disease of hepatitis C. It's not long time ago we had really a treatment that cured that disease. At one point, we did not have that. But it is definitely someone believed that there should be a treatment, a cure for this disease. Otherwise, they will not work towards it. You have to believe in it. Today, we don't have a cure for HIV, but I personally believe that there is a cure. It is still in the unknown. But the first step is to believe. And this is why Quran, when it talks about that the destiny of the human being is to move from one orbit to a higher one, that تَرْكَبُنَّ طَبَقًا عَنْ طَبَقٍ. Immediately Quran asks the question, فَمَا لَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. That what really prevented us from moving to a higher orbit is our disbelief. So we need to believe first. And I am really always fascinated by Henry Ford. Henry Ford, before this is very well documented, before, like, he had the car that he invented, you know what he wrote? He said, he wrote, the horse is dead. Who would really write a sentence like that? Someone who believes that this era is gone. We are entering a new era. We are entering into a new paradigm. This is gone. The current era is gone, okay, of the horse as a mode of transportation. So my point is really, this is the, can you go further? So this is the second addition, is the belief in the unknown, which is another condition for success, but this should be the driving force to bring in new information. And this is where I see that we are now closing the loop, if you like. So you start with information, knowledge plus transformation that will help you to wisely apply the knowledge, but then you need to continue the journey. That journey will continue only if we believe in the possibilities that are still present in the unknown. And this will bring us a new information. It's not a circular, in fact, it is really a spiral. because now the new information at a higher level of understanding and thinking compared to the ones before. So it is really a spiral really thing, okay? So I think I will stop here, and this is really what I am really proposing, okay? It is definitely subject to discussion, and also how we can work also together, okay, to continue the journey that was started by the scholars that I talked about, and there are really a lot of work really to be done, okay, how we can, within that framework, we can start really putting curricula to respond, okay, to these components of this model. Please.
So, Doctor, when you talk about believing in the unknown, I thought in the Quran it was more referred to like believing in Allah and the angels, but you are saying it is also talking about the inventions.
Yeah. You see, again, because the highest, okay, is to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that really should become, this belief in Allah should really give you that incentive to push that envelope, the ceiling, and look, and don't be like your journey will not be really obstructed. In fact, Quran also says, Allahu alladhi yukhrijul khab'a. So things that are really unknown, they are hiding from us. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will unfold them for us. But this will not happen spontaneously. We need to work on that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is generous, and He will open venues for us to see really and this is open opportunity for everyone. So Quran says, سَوَاءً لِلسَّائِلِينَ. It's really an open opportunity, equal opportunity for all those who really ask the right question. Okay? Not only that, recently I saw it also in وَمَا هُوَ عَلَى الْغَيْبِ بِضَنِينَ. You know, danin, when you become stingy, you don't want to give. You see, this ghaib, this unknown, this unseen that belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is telling us, He is promising us that I will unfold it to you. I will be generous and give you of that. But you will believe first. And that belief will be the incentive to move, to bring new information. Make sense? Good. Yes?
In fact, in the same ayah, Allah is showing us the formula how to find Him. وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. If you have these three characters and these three habits of doing it in the right way, أُولَٰئِكَ هُدًى مِّن رَّبِّهِمْ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. You can easily reach to Him.
Yes.
So reach to His attributes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is a very big phenomenon. You can become generous, you can become
wise,
anything you
yes,
want,
yes.
wise. You can get the knowledge.
Yes.
But to reach there, you've got to do these things.
Exactly. Very good. Yes, Najib.
Thank you, Dr. Walid, for the great lecture. While I'm reading the ayah or the zakir or reading the ayah, yes. While reading the two ayah you showed us here, I went to the Quran just to see the context. And I really, just now, I was amazed by how Quran put it. The first ayah is really a dua, introduced as dua from Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim says, ربنا وابعث فيهم رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياتك ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة ويزكيهم إنك أنت العزيز الحكيم. So Ibrahim in his dua put the order, kitab, hikmah, yuzakihim. At the era of Muhammad Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to answer dua Ibrahim. But he put it in different order. It's really amazing. And I want to, this is the same surah in Baqarah. كما أرسلنا فيكم رسولا منكم يتلو عليكم آياتنا ويزكيكم ويعلمكم الكتاب والحكمة. يزكيكم ويعلمكم الكتاب والحكمة ويعلمكم ما لم تكونوا تعلمون. If you go to Surah Al Imran, also, the Quran will use لقد من الله على المؤمنين إذ بعث فيهم رسولا من أنفسهم يتلو عليهم آياته. رسول ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة. The consistency of the Quran. Still, you have that the same order. وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين. If you go to the last one, that will be الجمعة. هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة. There's always the Quran maintained different order than دعاء إبراهيم عليه السلام. And this is amazing because there is awareness from the beginning, and we found this awareness from Quran Makkah and Makki. In Surah Al-Layl, the Quran will say وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى. When the layl, night, is moving toward going darker and darker, and النهار moving toward brightness. This is the movement. وَمَا خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنْثَى. This amazing creature that is human being. الذكر والأنثى, regardless of gender. إِنَّ سَعْيَكُمْ لَشَتَّى. That amazing diversity and the gap between each other. So it means it depends the movement, which direction you will take. We can move toward going darker and darker when there is no light reflected from us, or we can go toward as al-nahar, brightness. But in Surah Ash-Shams, the Quran push it more further when he say وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا وَالْقَمَرِ إِذَا تَلَاهَا وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّاهَا. He's no longer talking about وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى أو النَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى in the abstract way. He's saying Ash-Shams needs An-Nahar to be seen so beautiful. Take the idea of Ash-Shams, that revelation, that Al-Kitab himself, Al-Quran. So unless you build that human being, when this high value can be reflected, no one will be able to see that beauty. The same thing for the sun. If you go outside the atmosphere, it will be just around the white disk. You don't see anything. But because of that reflection, but the idea of al-layl and nahar also, that us as human beings, we have that ability to reflect light. So it means al-nahar and the layl as creature, they have, al-nahar is not Ash-Shams, but that creature, when Ash-Shams, the nur Ash-Shams, can also be dispersed, reflected, refracted, so you can see all of this beauty. But also, what we see right now, the color what we see is this slide or this projector what was able to share with us. So even us, when we have all this beautiful message that has been sent to us, people will they will not be able to see but what we've been able to share with them. This is the same thing for the daily life, for the nature. You see the green, because that object was able to share the green with you. You see another color, so it means this exactly, regardless of the color, so it means, but it's what has been shared. So as human being also, maybe as an individual level, each one of us will be able to share some of this beautiful name. But all of us as ummah, we can work together as an ummah to make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala our qibla, and we'll be able to share all this
high value
frequency, if you like, if we can put the idea of frequency of a beauty of these beautiful names. So this is very interesting. But the Quran, when they answered dua Ibrahim alayhi salam, kept al-ayat, kept al-kitab al-hikmah, but changed brought at the beginning يزكيهم. So the idea is how to create that human being who can really be able to carry the message, that awareness. Because the purpose of the message itself is the human being. I was working in the company, and they give us trainings, and we do testing for to pass the test. So I failed one time. I failed the test, and why I failed it? The test was about ethics, but talk about the bribe. If you bribe someone, to go overseas and you bribe someone, is it good to bribe that one or not? So, but they put different things. If at the end you bribe an individual level, if you bribe someone, is it against the law or is it ethical or not? And also, if the company bribe another company, is it ethical or not? For me, because I have different reference, bribe is a bribe, regardless the company does it or a human being at an individual level is doing it. But I failed the test because the absence in the reference, they make, if a company bribe another company, it's okay. That's fine. But as far as the individual level bribe someone, this is against the law. So this is why the Quran also add the idea of kitab, add the idea of reference. It's not just rational. There is no rationality outside the reference. If you come to the idea of the action or the direction of the action. This is why the awareness of human being now, for what we call scientific method, if you like, is really the basic of that awareness of the universe as a reference for any possible action. There is no such action outside the universe. So that idea of the reference, that Al-Quran was behind that. It's really Al-Quran that pushed humanity, and through Ibn al-Haytham, that scientific method who introduced it to the humanity, or through Ibn Khaldun, the social or the society become reference for anything that we call today culture. But also this can be used as a metaphor that humanity are in the era when they need al-kitab, that is Al-Quran, as a reference that make or give meaning to the issue and make the issue of direction and to resolve it possible.
You had a question?
Well, the only thing I was trying to ask, so when we're talking about the model, the current model versus the future, the model we are aspiring to, how we see our current model we have in our educational system, in our mosque.
Very good.
What do we see there, parallels there?
I see really one possible really application, and this will not only apply, only to the schools that are affiliated really with our masjid, but really can apply really to any school. It's not really a secret. My wife Wadad and sister Ashia and myself, recently we've sat down and started really working on a curriculum, in one area, let us say Islamic studies, and we tried really to put a curriculum, based on the current understanding of the human development. Let us say the child, that we are teaching from the age of 5 till the age of 15, and definitely they are in different classes, but also developmentally they are not really the same. So we looked at each period of development of that child and say, what are the things that are needed, to instill in that really child, others will be teaching other topics, especially in a full-time school, they will be teaching them math and biology and science and all these things. But we are really focusing more on the idea of transformation, the component of tazkiyah. What the child really will need in conjunction with really learning, like the information and the knowledge and the application of that knowledge. Again, not only focusing on the habits of making, but also focusing on the habit of doing. What type of student you would like really to graduate? Okay, so this is one possible, definitely, application. Okay, personally, I have looked at curricula. I don't. What is lacking? Where are we going? There is no vision, or clear vision at least. Okay, and also we are not taking into consideration, okay, the sequencing. Okay. Whatever comes to mind, okay, we put it in that curriculum, but without really connecting it with the state of that child on the curve or the trajectory of their development, and at the same time, we are not really asking what are we trying to achieve in teaching that piece of information or that piece of knowledge. So this is something that, again, yes, we are starting to do that, but we really also want the input, because all of you have experiences, all of you have, something to offer and to put on the table. If I look at all of you, I know most of you, if not all of you, I know that you have something to offer. But if we do not have a model, a framework to help us to plug these pieces of information together, so in other words, I am hoping that this model will give all of us the bigger picture. The puzzle, it's the picture that you see on the box of the puzzle. But inside that box, there will be all these pieces that will form that picture. Is that right? So these pieces we have to work on together. But if that picture is not there, where to put these pieces? I don't know. It's a very good example, honestly. If you have in your mind, in front of you, the bigger picture, this is where I want. But this is what I want to construct, then the pieces will find its place. But if you go to the puzzle not knowing where to start, you don't know. So I'm hoping that this is the bigger picture, the framework, okay? And again, it is amenable to be expanded even further. Yes, Fatima.
I always admire your model, and this is beautiful. Again, it's more complete this time, but I'm just wondering, how do you see it other than the example you mentioned in your Islamic studies? Because I was just so happy this morning, I was reading one of the letter came from MIT regarding their expansion, and I wanted to share with Anwar, but he did not have much time, to show that they are training 165,000 students from pre-kindergarten to grade 12 for their model, a new model in teaching in India, with the help of. So I'm thinking all our ideas are good, but where we apply it, how we begin, application is the key. And we talk about beautiful things, but we never could
Again, I
make
think,
it to the wisdom
as you are saying, the devil is in the details.
Absolutely.
And I think the details, we need to work on them together. And I still believe that curricula is, if you, I'm sure you have heard it everywhere, okay?
Yes.
Brother Muhammad, you have also your own experience in your, is this something that you are struggling with, like what type of curriculum you want to use?
Very much so. My wife, of course, runs the Sunday school in the Islamic Cultural Center of Greater Chicago. We face this challenge, of course. But if I may comment on this model here.
Please.
We all know that really there's a lot of information. We are actually drowned with information, whether it's on the internet or social media, what have you. So I think it's very important also to sift that information and filter it.
Yes.
Because if you do not filter that information and you gain that information could be very dangerous also.
Yes.
So I just wanted to make that comment.
Again, so when we talk about habits, okay, and honestly, I dedicated several Friday speeches like to talk about certain habits that needs to be acquired in order to change the culture. For example, one of them is verification. We don't verify. تبين. It's not one event. How that becomes part of the culture. How to create an environment of inquiry. People can ask questions and they will not be stifled. This is another thing. You see, so there are several habits that we need to identify and work on them to become part of the character of, because they are habits, okay, repeatedly being done, then become part of the character of the students that you are trying to raise.
Well, yeah, not only habits really, because again, I go back to the information, and I'm just thinking of really what's going on in the world. Mm-hmm. How you really, people go on the internet and they're brainwashed with certain information or certain things, and they don't apply that information.
Again, if they start asking questions, if they are verified, but again, if these are not being addressed, okay, at home and at school and in the masjid and everything, then it will not. Again, the idea of habits, okay, it's really the basis of how you want to make really a change at the level of the culture. That is my point. Just 1 second, yes, go ahead.
Thank you so much for your good talk. Me and my friends this debate at school a lot. This level of,
can you raise your voice?
Yeah. You spoke about having good grades, having good GPAs is not enough. I totally agree with that. Like you stress saying life experiences really are the cause and root of having good humility, being a good righteous person, being noble, having this level of empathy you will only get from going through life experiences or struggle or whatever avenue of your life. Do you feel as if parents or teachers can really teach this aspect of empathy or humility in school, or do you feel as if a child or student's life experiences and what they go through in their family is the only way to get attain that level of thought and intellect? I need to those causes of social justice, understanding those who are oppressed, those who are poor, those who are going through financial problems. Will they be able to understand that on their own, despite not going through any of the problems in their family themselves, or can parents and teachers really teach that in a school setting? What is your opinion?
A very good question. In fact, again, this is an area that we really need to talk about it collectively and to find ways and programs. How to make our kids aware, okay? And really one of the things that definitely will help is really role model. And our kids sometimes even don't have really role model. Just think about what happened just a couple of weeks ago with the departure of Muhammad Ali, rahimahullah. See how, the influence was all over the world, okay? Because people really yearn to a role model, okay? And he was able to touch, okay, on what is common to all humans, okay? And we have emphasized that over and over, that these high values that we are talking about, Quran refer to them as ma'ruf, which means they are self-evident, they are common, they are universally accepted. Quran doesn't call them Islamic or Quranic or Muhammadan or Abrahamic. Never. Quran calls them ma'ruf. So how to expose really our kids through conversations, through actual life experiences, working in a shelter or in a soup kitchen, so we have to find these really ways of how we make them conscious of these really issues. And I believe that the success of prophets was because of that consciousness. They were the most conscious about the problems of their societies, owning them, and then choosing the right time to change the status quo.
What do you think is like a good age, like to expose children at like these?
Oh, then you have really to look. You have to, yeah. I mean, again, this is where we have to look at the whole model, taking into consideration the development of the child. And you will find, I mean, really there are specific times when you can inject really this type of information and follow it with experiential, through play, could be trips, field trips, okay? All these things that we have to come out with, to be creative in our activities in order really to bring, especially when it comes really to very abstract ideas. So we have to find out simpler ways of how to bring it to their consciousness because of their age also. Okay? So Sister Arsia, I think you can add.
Well, I mean, to answer both your questions, we're literally starting from birth to death. So we're looking at all of the stages of development. But primarily, we're going to start at elementary school where you can have conversations, but oftentimes what the gap is in our education, our development, our homes now, is that we're not building character, we're not building issues, so if my child knows compassion, he doesn't need to know how to be compassionate in this situation or that situation. He will be compassionate, and that's how you can relate to every issue. And as they get older, if they feel that they are loved unconditionally, and that they can trust their environment, and that they are seen and they are heard, then all of the issues become easier to handle. But if you have a child who's broken and comes to the situation, like I've taught in Sunday school here, half the kids are crying or are scared of this or doing that, and whatever you put on them is amiss. So they'll memorize, so they'll do short-term memory to pass a test. But their long-term memory and their character is nothing, and you see that when they get older. I taught grade 7 and I taught kindergarten. My grade 7 kids in this school were worse than my kindergarten kids. Like I had to literally put them in timeout because I couldn't believe how they were disrespecting the teacher, right? So things like that. So the model that we're referring to looks at the needs of a human being, emotional, social needs of a human being from birth to death. And then we are trying to infuse the education that they can literally understand and grasp and internalize before they get to the next step.
I feel like in this room, many of us probably have those conversations with our child, right? As we were teaching in Sunday school or talking to students, they're only focused on how they're going to be.
Yeah, because that's the emphasis the parents are saying. Because A means success, but we all know, we're intelligent enough to know that that's not what it means. How many people are A+ students and are failing in life, in relationships, are of this, domestic abuse, either victims or, whatever, are financially bankrupt or spiritually, emotionally bankrupt. We're having issues that next week, we're talking about social justice, and I've been reflecting on the whole point is if we can't respond to the issues of our community, our families, then what's the point of us responding? And it's not about becoming despairing, and I was despairing, and Dr. Khayr knows that. I'm like, I'm done, and I just shared this with Shaila. I've been doing this work for almost 20 years. And I'm like, what impact have we made as a society? Why are we still, and he always says, you're in the trenches, because my life, my work, all of the above. But I'm like, if I am in the trenches, why doesn't anyone pay attention to the real issues? Why are you inviting me to deal with this problem when I'm telling you that these many problems already exist? What's the gap? And so the conversations that we continue to have, or every time I come to his door saying, I don't understand, it was his ability to organize that, my lack of understanding or ability to move, to say, how do we then address these issues? And how do you start from, the youngest of a child? We can't take on the world.
Conversations so we can start to happen at an earlier age.
Absolutely.
In Sunday school, at school, currently all the time, these are the problems that we're facing. We need the children in our society who are probably grow up with no financial problems, with no homeless people in front of us. We're not in India, Pakistan, they need to be head on, face forward.
And so what's happening to those children? They are devoid of compassion.
Exactly.
They are devoid of trust. You can see, I can now see a mass murder, okay, next. the next murder, the next terrorist attack, the next victimization, the next abuse, the next single mother, the next, it doesn't matter. You just flip through. How fast do we go through our pages? And the more, I mean, in marketing, my rule is 30 seconds was the rule. Now we're at 3 seconds. If you don't make an impact within 3 seconds when somebody sees something, they've already lost you.
Yes.
How many people, and so if that's our microscopic time frame to make that much of a difference in the world, what are we doing, right? So can we reverse, what's our circle of influence and what's our circle of concern? Can we at least make an impact there? And then that's generations. And Dr. Khayr knows I brought 5 women, myself included, to his home. There are single moms who've been through domestic violence or worse, but between our 5 women, there's 13 children. So my call to him was, that's the next generation of children growing up without fathers or growing up being abused. What do we do? Right? How do we tackle that? Now 5, I can bring him 15 of the same women. I have 20 women on my phone every single day. What do I do? How do I do it? So what are we responding to as a mosque, as a community, as an institution?
I'm sorry, you're absolutely right. We are not concentrating on the real issues. We are, working on the fringes, on the marginal things. I'm not concentrating.
Lower concerns. The lower concerns. I mean,
thank you very much. You are absolutely right. We are not concentrating on the real issues. I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah.
And that's all over,
But again, I mean, we lack, exactly, but we lack the approach, unfortunately. I mean, that's where we are spending, and I don't want anyone to lose hope. I mean, and this may be taking time, but this time is really invested and really in working on a workable approach. I mean, it doesn't happen haphazardly.
No, of course.
There is no success or no failure without really a cause. Okay, so we need to look, and inshallah next week, okay, we are going to have a very interesting, really discussion. It will be composed of 2 components, okay, because we are talking about the third component, which is social justice, and Brother Najib will talk to us about how the terms used in Quran that all mean to give, but they were used in different ways, how they relate to the challenge, okay, the society was really like facing, and that term was really needed, okay. This type of giving was needed to respond to that really challenge. And the second half, Sister Arshia will, since she is really working in the trenches, and she was very instrumental in the work of Ummah. She will be talking to us on how we can transform a social action into social justice. Okay? And I will leave it at this so that I will not, take any more of their talks, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yes?
Just wait, can you bring back, Shakil, can you bring back that picture? I want to emphasize something here. What we're talking about as a model, as a vision, it's really beyond advice to our child or maybe small communities. We are trying to open, I would say, a new era for the whole humanity, that to be aware of the issue, of the direction of any action. Look here for us. Take an engineer. And this is a beach in Manila, and you can see the level of pollution. But an engineer here, when an engineer is aware, there's 2 levels. There's awareness, but awareness is not enough too. I can be aware that smoking is bad, but unless I have that ability to put an end to smoking, this is not going to happen, because the doctor himself can advise you, but he is a smoker, he's still smoking. So it's not enough. So they need that awareness, but also that preparation, that tazkiyah, yes, it's the increase in goodness, but also a field where any seed of goodness can grow, and can grow in a healthy way. So if you can teach an engineer and make the person who is an engineer, who has that awareness of the issue of direction, and also that ability to make it happen. He will not invent something that you can throw it in this universe, will remain there for 600 years without any solution. So here really we are aiming a different human being. How to make the issue, because it's not only just an issue of direction that is totally separated from the issue of action, but the idea how to bring them together, how at each moment, at each instant, you marry these two things together and you make from them one solution that can help us as human beings to get closer to Allah, who is the source of all high values.
This is why I did not put tazkiyah as a separate step. I put it along with the knowledge because they have the direction and the action have to be together.
Yeah, unfortunately in our schools today, our kids can go to school for decades, but they don't think about anything that has any relationship with high values. There is a lack of the idea of reference, while in this civilization we still talk about rationality. But there is no rationality without reference if you want to have something concrete. There is no meaning. But as Muslim, we have that responsibility, and that it's not easy responsibility to as Ummah to show this is possible. This can happen. Because it's not just, you can be a very wealthy nation, but that's 2% that can own 80% or more of the wealth of that nation. To create a nation that is able to distribute wealth and direct the wealth itself, that main nation grow in the right way when you can see this high value as the purpose is not easy to achieve. So it means I would say something new, but also we need to think about it as something very complex. It's not easy. As humanity right now, and I think Quran was, I can't even demonstrate, Quran was behind that to bring humanity to the era of scientific era. Quran also is inviting human being and taking this scientific era as a metaphor when we can make the issue of direction as a new science. So we can create a person who can measure mercy. I can go to the street and I can in any city in the world and I can see the level of mercy through driving. How people really they drive. I can see the level of forgiveness. But we need to bring this to the conscious of us, and we increase our ability to make it a real science, that we control it. This is a hikmah. The hikmah has also the ability to control things. You don't just leave them happening in haphazard way. You can have
Brother Naji, how are you going to implement again? We know all these beautiful things. So you have to begin at a small scale or a large scale or some kind of model or something. You have to have some action items.
Yeah,
we know about that. That's a common.
We don't know about it. We don't know about it. We talk to God, but really we don't know.
Okay, please go ahead.
I don't know. I was like asking about that. So since there is, I think it's a good topic actually. Since there is like a visionary masjid, okay, the main topic is on the visionary masjid. So I agree that actually always with an alif we should have a tazkiyah, but the tazkiyah it will be a little different if the main intention is actually when we are working with a masjid as a visionary, our vision should be like the students who are getting from this model, they should be successful in this world as well as they should be good in the hereafter too. When they are going to their judgment, they need to be in that too actually. So the tazkiyah, if it is, when you are coming up with the tazkiyah, I would recommend that, okay, we should keep that also in mind, because it's going to be different only if you are considering successful only here, or here plus when we want to have like a closer to Allah, and on the day of judgment when we are going to success actually.
Right. Do you think that somebody who is failing here will be succeeding over there?
Somebody is successing here will fail there.
Yes, I mean in terms, but you see, the Quran is very clear. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون. So the idea is really how to use the full equation, not really to separate. Okay, and I think the whole idea of these topics, honestly, is really to keep the vision clear, to connect all these together. You see what I mean? The separation, the disconnect is hurting us a lot. We pray, but we don't know what is really the intention of the prayer, or how prayer should really help us to model our life. You see what I mean? The same thing, we fast, but fasting has become, unfortunately, for the sake of fasting, but we are without really realizing what are really the objectives of it. And the same thing for giving and for Hajj and for all the things that we do that by themselves are very dear to us, but they have become disconnected from our life. That's what we are really trying to resolve.
So what I wanted to say is, during this year, right, so the students or whoever it is, during this year they are going to doing something, or they are going to get used to do something in a particular environment. They will realize that, okay, this is what I need to do. At the end, actually, what they are understanding from that is important. So, for example, the tazkiyah is to say that if you are a good Muslim, you will get more love from Allah. That's what the final thing. If they are getting it more, that's one way. Another one is, if you are doing this, you will become a good human. Okay. If you are stopping only with the human, okay, that is one way. Another one is adding a little bit more.
You see, this is the problem, my brother, that we are disconnecting again. These two should not be disconnected. Why we all the time we are separating what is human from what is really required from us to be successful here and in the hereafter. So that's this disconnect that is hurting. I want you to, honestly, I want you, me, and everybody to start changing the way we are approaching things. This separation is not going to help us. It's confusing. It's giving two messages. Go to the Jum'ah prayer and you can see these messages that are conflicting to our kids, because they are always talking about this issue that is okay and separating it from what they are doing on day-to-day basis. This should really stop, honestly.
No, I'm not understanding. Can
you see the fact that you are separating between, okay, what will make you a good human being from someone who is not really believing that if he does this will be awarded. This is not true.
No, actually the thing is, like, even in India, I'm from India, so even if they are Hindus, there are so many good people out there.
No question about it.
So they are good humans.
Yes.
Okay, at the same time, if we are developing people here, okay, those who are just, if they are only trying to be like good human alone, it is not going to be like additional. Okay, then there is no balance. In addition to that, they need to have a connection saying that I'm doing this, that's the intention.
What did we say at the beginning? What is the vision? No.
Okay.
Do you remember what we said? What is our vision? The vision is to raise human beings who are able to realize the high values. These high values emanate from the beautiful names of Allah. Every time, any action, however we are talking about worship, or talking about education, or about social justice, we always have to go to the vision and ask ourselves, which beautiful name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala we are realizing? If we are not, then we have to revisit what we are really doing. This is what we need to instill in our kids.
Okay, so if they are understanding,
this will resolve the issue. Then I don't have to separate good human being from somebody else. I don't care. This individual who is really may be closer to the value or the high value or the name of Allah being realized more than me. So I have to learn from that person. If that person, whatever religion he's following, he is merciful, I have to appreciate what will happen to that person. This is up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But I have to appreciate the mercy that this individual is exhibiting, because I believe in it. Yes, doctor.
It's a little bit off the subject, but I would like Sister Ashia to be a member of the board of this our community. Because we need somebody who knows in the trenches about what's happening with the children, what's happening with the family. I mean, I propose that's very important.
Where is Wasim? Wasim is not
Wasim
here.
left.
No, the other Wasim.
Wasim left.
But Wasim, you can take that message.
There is one more board member here.
Here, Sister Rubina is
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very important that somebody who knows, who's knowledgeable with education, who's very enthusiastic.
I second that. All in favor say aye.
If you believe, you don't have to be really a member of the board. You can have an ad hoc committee. She could chair that ad hoc committee to really do whatever she wants.
But Rubina should be,
I'm not voting against
and
it.
also her voice should be tremendous also.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
I'm talking about tazkiyah.
Yes.
There is a verse, وَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. What is that?
Yeah.
Allah is a human.
Yeah, you see the idea here, like when you are recommending, okay, so it's not you that you recommend yourself, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will recommend you. You see what I mean? So it has a different meaning. Yeah.
It has to be.
It's more like when it's like when even the recommendation in Arabic we call it risala tazkiyah. Yeah.
You can maybe just to add for, because the Quran relates two things. Even for Fir'aun himself. Quran says, وَأَمَّا مَنْ تَغَى. You can sometimes as human being, you can have that feeling. I'm in very extreme طغيان, like despotism. I mean, Quran it doesn't stop there. Say, وَأَمَّا مَنْ تَغَى وَآثَرَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا. Don't let the shaitan also fool you. Even saying that you are a bad person. No. You are a bad person if you are in real life doing bad. You lost the ability to do good. But at the opposite side, وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ. Who has that feeling, I fear God. I'm awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it is, وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ. Are you able really to show that in practice? How much kareem you are? How much generous you are? How much merciful you are? How much patient? Have patience. If your own son can explode you in 30 seconds, this is really what you have as patience. You don't have more than that. So don't fool yourself. It means the idea there's two things together, they need to go together. This is why when we say there's action and direction, it means you need to marry them together. And سَوَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ is that meaning. You don't say, oh, I'm great, I'm wonderful. That's fine, show it in practice. Show me how great you are. But if you are not able to do it, it's better to